So yesterday we were discussing how mantra yoga helps an aspirant to attain this initial awakening of the Pratyagatman, or the self which is the most apparent self, not the supreme self, because according to Advaita there is only one self, the pure Brahman, and other selves are all illusory. But for all practical purposes, when we do sadhana, we can't understand that. First, we have to find out our center of consciousness, as I told you, which can easily be found at the center of the heart. Why heart? The spiritual heart is the Anahata Chakra, the 8-petaled red lotus on which we are supposed to meditate. That enables us to fix our center of consciousness. Why that is important, we will see later slowly. But as spiritual aspirants, we should know what we can achieve through practice of mantra or japa. Everybody is asking this question. I want mantra, I want to take mantra, I want to take initiation. But what is the purpose? So in meditation and spiritual life, a nice book on meditation, if you read, Swami Yatiswaranji says that the first condition of spiritual life is Shraddha for the spiritual ideal. Shraddha in that spiritual ideal. Now, as I told you, Shraddha is a very complicated word. It's not just, though it is translated as faith, I am not saying it is just a mere faith. It has to be a faith based on certain convictions. So certain convictions, certain faith, basic faith in the validity of the scriptures, because it has come down in a tradition. All these things are very important. The first and foremost thing you have to find out, which especially the tantras, this Guru Parampara, whether that Guru Parampara is adhered to. Just saying, just accepting anybody and everybody as a guru will not help. So to have that kind of shraddha, to have that kind of faith in a person, faith in the parampara, not that particular person, because whatever comes as a in a particular lineage of successive gurus, that has to be adhered to. That is why Shankaracharya, in many of the scriptures, Guru are paramparagata jnana. He doesn't use the word guru, but paramparagata jnana. Gata means achieved, that knowledge which is achieved through a parampara. He gives so much emphasis in his commentary. You will find that I accept this provisionally with Shraddha because it is come through a parampara. So there are many things, as Madhvacharya showed, this dualist showed, that if you are very strong in logic, you can prove that Advaitin is wrong. This Madhva logicians, they are so perfect in their Nyaya that no matter how much you try, you cannot defeat them. The Nayayikas, especially Madhvacharya, he was an exponent of the pure Dvaita, that Advaita is just a superimposition, some Buddhist, a Prachanna Baudha, as they call. They said the Advaitins are Buddhists in disguise. Prachanna means hidden Buddhists. They are Buddhists because of influence of Buddhism. They are talking. So through logic, they are very good at logic. The Nyaya school, and if you are very good at logic, you can prove or disprove anything in this world. So that is Shankaracharya understood that. So how can you establish Advaita? So he comes to the practical side of knowledge, which says the knowledge or Shraddha should, that knowledge which you get should be Guru Paramparagata or Paramparagata Jnana. So because this Parampara says, I follow it, because it has helped some people to reach the goal. Definitely it follows from that following that tradition, I can also reach the goal. So the ideal must be fixed and it should be clear even before you begin one's sadhana, or in this case, it is known as Upasana. So first of all, we must have a definite idea of the goal that we have to attain. Now, what is the goal? We'll discuss that. So long as we allow, Yatiswaranji says, to be vague and dreamy and hazy in our feelings and doings. You see, that is what happens. Okay, somebody has taken Diksha or initiation in my family, so I ask my children also to take. Why? I don't know. My parents told me, that's why I'm taking. Then there will be, because there will be vague ideas about what spiritual initiation is, what it does to you, what is the goal of mantra sadhana. It's not enough to just take a mantra. Then we become dreamy. We dream all sorts of possibilities that mantra will do this. Does it? Does your parampara say that? Does your parampara or does that tradition say that these things can be achieved? If you think these things because somebody said, some stray person will come and say, oh, you take Diksha or take initiation and all these problems will be solved. Some people go to the extent of saying that maybe you will get success in your profession, which is that is the most foolish thing if somebody thinks that is going to happen. There's no guarantee, no connection of spiritual initiation with any success of any kind in the gross life. That has to be made clear. There may be success, but that is not because of this. It is a byproduct, you can say. Some people may be successful, but if they have that as the goal, then it is defeating the very purpose for taking mantra diksha. So that is one idea. So we should not be hazy and dreamy in our feelings and doings. If that is there, then it will not have any impact. And not only that, it will have a continuous conflict within us, which will prevent most of us from even advancing. So some people say after so much of practice, Sri Ramakrishna used to give a beautiful example, is to say some people boarded a boat. In Bengal, it is very common. And it has to be, the anchor has to be removed. But they were drunk. They were too drunk that all the four people started rowing the boat. And finally, the whole night they rowed. They wanted to cross the river. And because they were drunk, they were talking to each other, saying, oh, we'll reach, we'll reach. Then finally, in the morning, the whole night they were rowing. And then in the morning, somebody said, have we reached? Why are we not reaching the other shore? Then the one person who had, who the influence of the liquor had become, I think, was less in him. He says, oh, the anchor has not been removed. The anchor is still in place. So how can the boat, no matter how much you row? So that is what happens in most of the cases. We think we are sincere, but we are sincere in the wrong way. So there is a beautiful quote of some of our president of our order who used to initiate people. He said, the right method followed by a wrong person, a wrong disciple, or a wrong person, and the wrong method followed by the right person, both will not lead to result. You understood the meaning. A right method practiced by the wrong person, like a person who has his anchor firmly in place and he is rowing, he will not reach even if he tries very hard. So that is why too much of superficial thinking, assuming that, oh, this will happen, this will happen. One cannot be hazy. One can be hazy in your sport and other secular things. You will not lose much. But in spirituality, if you are hazy, if you are vague, dreamy, you can have daydreams as far as earning money is concerned. At the most, you will not get that money. But here you will be not only wasting your time, but it will not lead you to the goal. It will be also a waste of time. So one should not have any superficial feeling, or one should have a definite idea what what we are doing by following this mantra yoga. And the second thing is not only shallow feeling, but a strong will is necessary. If you don't have a definite willpower to do what we think is right, and acting without any real or intense aspiration, or a clear cut purpose or deep awareness of what we can attain, then it is difficult. So that is what Yatiswaranji wants us. So in this line, to progress in mantra yoga, that four things are necessary. those who want to receive, those who are aspirants to receive Diksha or initiation from a Guru, unless they develop a clear understanding of these four goals or four or five aspects of this mantra diksha or spiritual initiation. First thing is the goal to be attained through diksha. What is the goal I'm trying to attain? We will discuss all these things. Even if we don't finish it in this class, maybe we'll have one more session, but we will go a bit slowly. First is 5 things you have to understand, 5 basic things. One is the goal to be attained through mantra diksha. Second, what are the different stepping stones of progress? They are known as intermediate or proximate goals. Certain things, you can't reach the highest all of a sudden. So you should have certain milestones or stepping stones. You can say, oh, I've reached this milestone. Now I'm making progress. What are those milestones? The first is the ultimate goal. Second is, are we making progress? Are we crossing certain milestones in our journey? It may not happen equally fast for all people. It may happen in some people, it may happen quickly, or in some people, it may happen slowly. So, but there are definite stepping stones. You have to understand that. Third is you have to be clear about the methodology and also the rationale for practice in mantra yoga. You have to, as far as possible, there are many things you have to accept on pure faith, but if you question properly and if the guru gives you the right answer, there is a meaning and purpose behind all those things. That is why we are discussing all these things in this class. So there is not only a methodology which you have to blindly follow. It's not a dogmatic method where you have to do. For example, some people ask, there are certain things which are trivial. They should not be taken very seriously because there is no definite answer. Like, for example, some people ask, why should we do 108 times? Of course, it doesn't make any logic. Even if you do 110 times, there's no need of even counting. Holy Mother used to say, as long as you can, but because a certain discipline is required. Even when you go to do some physical exercises, the doctor will tell you, you do 10,000 steps. Now, why, if you go on asking, why not 9,900? Okay, you do that. But the figure has to be given, something has to be given. So that is one thing, that you have to focus on the essentials, the real purpose of all these small methodologies and the rationale behind it. So there may not be a specific reason for everything. As for example, somebody may ask, why metal on the 8-petal lotus? Oh, I have read in this book there are 1,000-petal lotus. It's much more beautiful. Shall I not do it? No, you cannot, because there are certain things which are definite. They may be milestones which you may come across when you progress in your spiritual life. You may not have reached it, but there is a chance that when you reach a particular stage, these things will explain themselves very clearly to you. So first is methodology. You may begin with faith, but you have to understand, if possible, the rationale behind it, the practice of mantra yoga. First is the goal to be attained, which is the most important thing. Without knowing the goal, then it is better not to venture into this. One can venture, but one will not get the benefit. Second is the different stepping stones. Third is the methodology for reaching these stepping stones and the rationale behind all those things. There are many things which where Swamiji says that many things reason will give you answers for many things, but a stage will come when you have to transcend reason and then take a quantum jump. That is what Swamiji used to say, that everything cannot be explained. But as far as reason allows you to use, as long as reason allows you to investigate, you have to investigate. After that, you have to leave certain things to faith. That you should know, the methodology and the rationale. Fourth is the obstacles. Now, all undertakings are fraught with obstacles. Even to earn money, there will be obstacles. Even to study, there are obstacles. So fourth is the obstacles in mantra sadhana or upasana. And fifth, if there are obstacles, there should be means to overcome these obstacles. So one has to keep an open mind and not uh, expect that there will be everything will be smooth. There will be obstacles, but there are always some reason why these obstacles are coming, and there are ways to bypass those obstacles or overcome it. There are many ways how the obstacles, the means to overcome the obstacles. So I'm repeating now 5 things. First, the goal to be attained. Second, what are the different stepping stones which give you some kind of confidence that, oh, I'm progressing, the proximate or the intermediate goals. Then the methodology, the exact process. People, after initiation, they are given a small booklet, some practical instructions. They think they are very trivial. They don't even read it. But once I remember when out of enthusiasm, we go and ask all these senior Swamijis. They said, have you read your booklet which was given to you? The simple instructions, they are very basic, especially. Then I said, yes, I've read it. After Diksha, naturally we read. They said, no, I read it even today. And this person was a monk who had been practicing spirituality or practicing Japa for 40 years. We don't even remember what that instruction booklet or whatever little is given in the Ramakrishna tradition. We leave alone reading it daily. Then the question was asked, why do you have to read it daily? He said, many times I feel I have known certain things, but there are certain things which do not become clearer as the days pass. In the gospel also, you read the gospel once, you get one meaning, you read it again. That's the reason we have these classes. Somebody asked me, you are taking classes every day. What is the fun? I don't know whether it will benefit the people who are listening or not, but it benefits me because every time I read, I see some different meaning. So partially it is because of my selfish desire to be immersed in these thoughts. It helps me more than maybe if it helps others, it is very good. But I don't know, but it is definitely benefiting me. So that is why there are certain things in Mantra Diksha where you may ask, what is the fun of repeating these things? Because through repetition, it becomes a conviction. A Shraddha builds up like that. Shraddha doesn't come in one day. So unless these 5 goals, five things are understood in the context of mantra yoga or japa or upasana, we are not likely to benefit. So, and not only we will not likely to benefit, we will not even spend the necessary, we will not have necessary devotion or zeal or energy for this tremendous undertaking. Because let me tell you, though it requires a full, of course, it's unreasonable to expect that people will take it full time. Only very rare people will take this sadhana as a full time thing. But even if you devote a few hours or a few minutes also every day, if it is not done with proper understanding, it will sap the aspirant's energy. Doubts and confusion will occur, and then you will not get the whole benefit. So what is actually needed in spiritual life is Shraddha and the faith or ability, one's ability to realize the true self. So that is one aspect. Now, what is this Japa sadhana? The first thing which we discussed was to find out our heart center. That is the first step. As I discussed, there are other steps also. One is visualization. If you remember yesterday, those who attended the class, one is visualization of the Ishta. Second is the repetition of the mantra. So audio and visual. Our whole efforts that we do in our life are either listening or, of course, there is smelling and other things, but they are secondary. Our main thing, that is why the television and all the different gadgets that you have, they are mostly audio visual. So audio is the first thing a child develops even when it is in the womb of the mother. The hearing is developed first. So that is why we say audio visual. Visual comes later. So visualization is very important, but hearing or repetition. Hearing means not loudly. Subtle, there is a subtle hearing and there is a loud hearing. So that doesn't mean you have to loudly repeat the mantra. Mental repetition is 10 times or 100 times more powerful than actual repetition. We'll come to that, the different aspects of the mantra. Para, there are 4 stages in sound reproduction. It's a very, very scientific method. Now, anyway, the rhythmic chanting of the mantra, which leads to the awakening of the heart center, is called Japa, the simplest definition. So that is why Holy Mother, see, in our very, very simple way, if you just read the Gospel of Holy Mother, you will find such spiritual gems. We don't have to go to and read complicated books about all these things. Very simple advice she gave. She says, can you listen to the clock was a new, of course, there was a clock in her room. So she immediately tells the disciple, can you see that clock? It is going tick tock in a rhythm. It doesn't miss a single beat. It goes on and on and on. So she says, gives us such a wonderful example. She says, just like the tick tock, let the mantra be repeated. So this rhythmic chanting is the easiest and the best way to awaken the heart center. There are other ways. Visualization is there, I'm not saying. But it is not a haphazard or a careless repetition of a mantra in a drowsy state. You may repeat, if you are really sleepy, then you may be in that drowsy state. So that is not real japa. That maybe something is better than nothing, but it has to be done very systematically. And of course, there are certain times where they say, which are known as the Sandhi Kala, when day turns to day and day turns to night and night turns to day. They are known as Sandhi. And there is an afternoon Sandhi also, which occurs at midday and at midnight. But midday and midnight, they are normally not practiced. We don't practice during that time, but early morning when night becomes day, at dawn and at dusk. That is, there are certain vibrations in the on the earth which makes the situation, makes the atmosphere very quiet at that time. That is what Swami Brahmanandji said. These are the best times. They also say Brahma Muhurta is there, but let us not go into the details. Any time, like Holy Mother, if you ask her, she will say, like the tick tock of the clock, let it repeat the mantra. That is one way to do it. But if you can't do it, at least do during this sunset or sunrise. That is the best time. But for many people, it's impractical to expect them to do because they'll be busy with so many things. Now, second thing is the mantra should not be repeated in a very mechanical way. You should imagine the center of consciousness. I'm telling you here, the intermediate goal or the proximate goal is to find the center of consciousness. Forget the higher realization. Let us now, for the time being, having known the highest goal, which is to realize the pure consciousness of Brahman, that is the main goal. But for many, it may not be a proximate goal. If we have not even found the center of our consciousness, the spiritual heart, then it is be vain to expect reach higher and higher goals. So first find the center of gravity, that which helps you to maintain your balance. You might have seen certain dolls, where there is a heavy weight inside. And no matter how much you disturb it, the doll will come back to that. It's a rounded toy. I don't know whether you have seen it. So it has a heavy thing, and that is known as the center of gravity. So no matter how much you disturb it, and the center of gravity is normally low in such dolls. So you bend that doll or just try to give it a push, it will come back to its original position. So that is maintaining the center of gravity. So in life also, the heart center, it should be our center of gravity. Many times we will be pushed around, we will be having trouble, sufferings, and that center of gravity is lost. When you lose that center of gravity, you feel helpless. You will be tossed around here and there. Mind will be tossed. It will not be physically tossed, But even sitting quiet, your mind is tossed. Then you don't just lose control of yourself. So what you do is you try to find out that center, heart center. It is just to find the center of gravity. And then you feel that the mantra is rising at that point. Whether you are successful in visualizing the Ishta there or not, visualization will come afterwards. But at least feel, you have to imagine that the mantra is rising from there. Don't think you are repeating it in the head. Otherwise, people, you see, they have the idea, they think the, of course you can meditate externally also, but first find the center of gravity. So one has to adhere to this technique very, very perfectly, because all our success depends on whether we really find out the center of consciousness. So we have to imagine that the mantra is rising from the center of consciousness. And then slowly, if you see the puja paddhati, if you see the systematic puja which has been prescribed, it is a very long, there are some long pujas, small pujas. We do it mechanically, we do not even realize. But the important fact is that that mantra rises from within and then spreads. And then even you have to imagine that your Ishta has temporarily come out and you are worshipping him in the photo in front of you. So you have to first imagine that he is in the heart. You have to always feel that he is in the heart, but only during puja you are bringing him out. But we do the exact opposite. We think God is outside, God is in the shrine. So we make a rush, try to meditate on the Ishta outside. Oh, such a beautiful image. We will go miles to see him. Whether, because he's in the heart, he is not outside. So the tantric puja or any puja, if it is performed correctly, it will teach you to request the Ishta who is within, and the Ishta Devata whose mantra you are repeating, to come out and accept the worship externally. Because I want to do external puja with all the paraphernalia, with all the sweets and fruits and all. You do to your heart's content. But we have to remember that. And then we have to imagine the mantra is rising within ourselves, and our whole body and mind, they are submerged in the constant rhythmic repetition of the mantra. That is real japa. If you see, there's a beautiful book by Swami Shraddhanandji, was the head of our San Francisco Center. He was a secretary. He's a very senior monk. He has passed away now, but he was in Sacramento for a long time. So he was a secretary to Swami Shardanandji. Shardanandji, when he was old, he had somebody to help him in his correspondence and other things. He was a very, very close to Swami Shardanandji. So he has written a beautiful book, how we can place the japa in all the different actions, how our day-to-day actions can be, there is a word in puja which is known as nyasa. Nyasa means to place. So we do nyasa of the mouth, we do nyasa of the head, nyasa of the eye. We purify everything. It's an imaginary technique, but it is a very important technique. We just say, if you are familiar with the Indian method of doing puja, the tantric method of doing puja, first you purify the body, because in an impure body, the Lord will not come. So we first purify. It is known as nyasa. So with japa, if you don't have a mantra given by your guru, you can just repeat Om or any other mantra, because every mantra, the meaning of every mantra is the same. To purify, to remove, if it's practiced rhythmically, then it purifies our gross body. So every day that purification ritual has to be done. That is known as japa. It should spontaneously come from within, which is the first thing. Now, mantras are, now what is a mantra? They are words. They are just ordinary words. As you said, nama and rupa. When you say table, it represents it. You may say it in any language. It doesn't matter. A table is in English, you call table. It is represented by a particular object. And the person who says that, he knows what a table means. But They are ordinary words. Mantras are also ordinary words. Words, when written on a paper or a board, they appear to be dead. But when they combine with the Sushumna, as we discussed yesterday, when they are chanted rhythmically, they acquire tremendous power. You'll find that in music. You see, when music is sung rhythmically, that's why Thakur never liked, Sri Ramakrishna never liked if there is any break in the rhythm in music. He says if you break the rhythm, he used to simply get disturbed. He will ask the singer to stop. Say, how can you break the rhythm? Nobody taught him classical music, but he could sing. So that rhythm gives tremendous power. That opens the Sushumna. And one small principle you have to remember, that the subtle controls the gross. Simple forces, the subtle mantra catches hold of the grosser things. What are the gross things? The prana, the body. Body is the grossest thing. The external objects and the physical universe is the grossest thing. So that can be controlled by prana. Prana can be controlled by the manas. The manas can be controlled by buddhi. The final, that's why we are searching for that buddhi. Buddhi is, as I told you, is like the charioteer. We discussed in our previous class today that why do we control the horses? Horses are like our senses. The charioteer should be in control of our chariot. So he is the subtle force. The buddhi is the subtle force. And the center of gravity or the center of consciousness, which you call pratyagatman, which we discussed yesterday, is that charioteer. Without him, we can't reach the goal. So it's the beginning. You have a wonderful charioteer like Sri Krishna was. Because of Krishna only, his chariot was able to negotiate all the problems which he faced in Mahabharata. So a charioteer is very important. So also buddhi. So these subtle forces control the grosser forces below them. Below in the sense, for convenience, I'm saying below. We are surrounded by different koshas. Body is controlled by prana. Once the prana goes, the body dies. So prana is required. The forces that enable us to run the body, do all our natural functions. Now, what is this prana controlled? It's controlled by the manas, the reactive mind, because these sense organs and the prana cannot function by themselves. There should be some unifying force. So in the imagery in Kathopanishad, what is this manas? It is the reins which the charioteer holds. He doesn't hold the horses directly. He has some reins which are subtle. With those reins, he is holding the horses. And the horses, the chariot is the body, of course, but the whole body is pulled by the prana. Prana is controlled by manas, and manas is controlled by buddhi. So this is a simple fact you have to remember. Otherwise, you will not understand why this mantra has to be repeated. Repeating the mantra, finding the center of consciousness, finding the heart center, awakens the buddhi. That is the sum and substance of spiritual life. That is the first step. I'm just talking of the first milestone. So you start with this, try to find your center of gravity. Right now, we are totally imbalanced. I mean, we are just on the surface of the ocean, just waves are coming and tossing us here and there. We have to find our depth, go inside, catch hold of that. With the japa, try to awaken the buddhi first. So catch hold, have a nice chariot here. Then we will think of running the chariot, and then we will reach the goal if we are lucky to get a good chariot here. So the buddhi, dhiyo yona prachodayata, that is the meaning of Gayatri. And that Gayatri merges into Om. In Gospel, it is there. Now, what does Thakur Sri Ramakrishna mean by that? The dhi will take you to Om, will take you to the ultimate goal, the Shabda Brahman, or ultimately that will lead you to Brahman. So Om is the representative of all mantras. So when we come to the mantra, we'll find what role Om has to play in that. But anyway, now the basic idea you have to remember is that the more subtle the thing, it controls the gross. So buddhi controls the manas, which is slightly gross. Manas controls the prana. Prana controls the body. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha. These things are apparently very simple, but the connection between them and why these problems are caused? The simple answer is that simple forces, by controlling the simple forces or the subtle forces, we can control the greater forces. There is a story which I don't want to repeat. I have mentioned that anecdote Swami Vivekananda gives in his Raj Yoga. If you have attended the Raj Yoga class, you will find that how a person uh, was locked up in a top of a tower. He manages to escape from there. How I will not tell, that is a very long story. Please try to read it from the Raj Yoga. The idea behind that story is that by catching hold of the smaller forces, we get hold of stronger and bigger forces. A beetle, the thin silken thread was ties. The beetle went up, and then to that string, the silk string, a thread was attached. So definitely the beetle could take it. Once it reached the top, the divan, not Raja, the person caught hold of the silk thread. Then they tied. Then with that thread, when he pulled the thread, a big rope could be attached, because if you tie a rope to the silk thread, it will break. So also you use the subtle force of the mantra to catch hold of our grosser forces and then escape from that bondage in which we have found ourselves. So that removal of the handling the gross problems, we have to go to subtle things. So there cannot be a worldly solution to our worldly problems. What do you mean? We try here and there, go approach this person, that person. We think money will solve, this will solve, so many things we try to solve the problem. We go to a doctor. Yeah, it may work, but you have to go to the root. That is what spirituality does. The subtle forces are always more powerful. Once you have a proper charioteer, then you may have the best chariot, a very strong body, very good horses, very strong reins also, strong mind, very intelligent mind, capable of doing anything, winning great victories outside. But if the charioteer buddhi is not proper, if the charioteer is not there, all these things are useless. The horses will go wherever they want and there will be an accident. So this is a very important thing. That is the essence of mantra shastra. So words appear to be without any power at all. But we do not realize the power of words. Mantra is not just ordinary words. It's not like saying Tom, Dick, and Harry. When we dive deep, this mantra, the important point is at the surface, when you are floating in the waves, you are not steady. You have to dive deep. When you dive deep, you understand. That is why they say try to dive deep within. If you remain at the surface, if the mantra is repeated by the mouth or even by the mind in a mechanical way, you are still at the surface. If you allow it to become subtle and subtle, the repetition becomes subtler, the greater and the stronger forces are released. So the mantra shastra says that every thought that arises in our mind, now this is very important, just try to remember, don't forget the technical names, but there are 4 stages of thought. Just try to keep it in your mind. You don't have to even note it down. When we speak, because this is very important, the logic behind mantra, why are these words powerful? We'll come to the bija later, but why these things are powerful? But for that, to understand, because mantra is, when you repeat a mantra, there is a thought involved. So what are the 4 stages of thought? Thoughts are induced by words. When I say somebody that you are a fool, the word is just a simple word, fool, but it creates such a reaction that if your mind is not under control, that fellow will come and slap you. So words are important, but you have to understand there are 4 stages of thought. Not in ordinary thought, we don't have to analyze so much. But when you are repeating the mantra, this becomes very important. It is not just a thought, a mantra that we are repeating. It's a very, very powerful and important thought which will lead us to the goal. If you don't have faith or don't have an understanding of that, then mantra yoga will not, japa will not help you. It will help you better. It will do some help. Vibrations, thoughts have their impact. That is why Holy Mother said, Japat Siddhi, just go on doing. If you can't do anything, at least repeat it, whether you know the meaning or not. Everybody perhaps doesn't have the inclination to know the meaning. So the 4 stages of thought are Vaikhari. When we talk or listen to somebody, what we hear, when somebody speaks to you, we hear the external sound only. This is known as Vaikhari Shabda. It is by striking of the vocal cords. As I told you, oo, and ma, the whole sound reproduction starting from the throat. It's a very scientific way of analyzing what this om is. So the Vaikhari sound of om is what you get after you say om loudly, because there is some vocal cords involved. Why mantras can't be repeated like that? Why during Diksha you are asked to repeat it mentally? I'll come to that. The second aspect of thought, slightly subtler than the Vaikhari, is known as Madhyama. That aspect of thought production or sound production is called that Madhyama state. Means it has not yet hit the vocal cords. It is just before that. You see, these things happen so fast that we can't distinguish. When the word comes first, the inclination. Suppose you want to eat a mango. You know that before you say I want to eat a mango, somewhere just imagine that desire to eat the mango has come. So that is the Madhyama state. That aspect of thought production which gives rise to the sound is known as Madhyama. But our mantra shastris, the people who devised this wonderful technique of mantra yoga, they say there is a third stage, still subtler. If we carefully repeat the mantra, all these states can be reached. You may not be conscious of it. You will not remember, oh, now it is Vaikhari, because it happens very fast. But we have to know what is the reason why you have to utter the mantra mentally, why it is more powerful. Because the previous then Madhyama, before you utter the word, there is a stage in thought production or thought or word reproduction, which is known as Pashyanti. That is a still deeper. So now in our mantra, in all the mantras, I mean, I'm talking of tantric mantras here, the bija sound, there is a bija sound, we'll try to understand what it is. It represents the Pashyanti state. Pashyanti means before, as I told you, before the Madhyama and Vaikhari. Vaikhari is finally when you utter. So what happens, just to give you an example, every bija, it represents the power of the Ishta when it is at the Pashyanti state. That is the idea behind uttering the mantra without sound. Even before the sound, there is a subtle power. Just to explain it properly, I'll have to give the example of bija. You know what bija means in Sanskrit? A seed. Now you take up any seed, like gram or something, like chickpea. They have 2 cotyledons. If you soak them, it will sprout and the cotyledons will separate. So bija also, why it has these 2 cotyledons, what do they represent? Why I'm giving you this example is, one cotyledon represents the name that you will ultimately utter, and the other is the form of the Ishta. Now we are talking about the mantra, but it can be used for any word. The word table and the object table, the visualization and the name. So Nama and Rupa, they have 2 technical names. Nama means name, but before producing the sound, your mind, the idea, the Pashyanti state, you have understood that now I have to call out the word table. But before I say table, till it becomes the Vaikhari, there is a stage before that, Madhyama, and before that, when it is still the 2 cotyledons are joined together, when it has not split into name and form, the moment you speak, the name comes. The name comes as table and the object table, they become separate. But mantra, the bija enables you to combine that. You go, that is why it is known as bija. So the shabda, that is name, artha means the object, the form. Everything, whether you do mantra or any other thing, you have to admit that there is a shabda, there is a meaning to that shabda. So you just don't utter like children, they will be saying ba ba ba, something which has no meaning. I'm not talking of those. But even there, they are trying to convey certain meanings. Even a dumb person, when he makes certain sounds, you may think that he is not able to articulate or verbalize what he's thinking, but the madhyama and the pashyanti states are there. He wants to say something, he is not able, he's dumb. So the shabda and artha, they are combined at the pashyanti state, like a seed. Only when it sprouts, the cotyledons separate and then the world, the whole creation comes. So you are given a mantra and you are asked to meditate on your Ishta Devata. The Ishta Devata has a form, has a name. But when you repeat the mantra silently, the form and name are combined. So Devata and mantra, the name and the form, Nam or Nami Abhed. That is why some people say, I can't visualize. So Holy Mother says, just repeat the name, because the name and the form. In fact, there is a Kannada saint who says he is quarreling with his Ishta. He says, I don't care for you because I've got your name. Because he knows the secret. He is singing because he was so unhappy that he's not able to get a vision of his God, his Ishta. So then, out of frustration, he says, don't worry, I don't care. You may not appear to me. But I know for certain by my Guru's grace that the Nama and Nami are same. I have your name, I don't care for your form. Of course, that was in frustration, he might have said, but they coexist. So you have to remember the mantra and the Ishta, they are not separate. That is the secret. If we understand this secret, then repetition of the mantra, why it is important, why we should spend hours and hours together, if we have time, of course. If we take it as a priority, you do it. Otherwise, it is something which can solve all our problems. The Devata and the mantra, that is why it is to be done. That is the only significance of spiritual practices or mantra diksha. And if we don't understand that, or if you don't want that, then it is better not to just, if we are not going to invest our time, then what's the fun of taking mantra diksha? So when you repeat, what you call the Pashyanti thought is a combination of the name and form of the Ishta. You may not be able to visualize, but in the name, the Ishta is concealed. When you repeat, and that bija, the bija which is attached to the name of your Ishta, it has the capacity to combine. Make it into a seed form. So you may not, you see, there are many things. They appear to be separate at first. When you repeat the mantra and meditate on the deity, yesterday somebody asked, when I try to visualize, I just lose the sense of repeating the mantra. And when I repeat, the form goes away. So when you repeat the mantra and meditate on the deity, they appear to be separate at first. You feel, oh, I am repeating now, but I can't see. Oh, now I am seeing him, but I can't repeat. The name as one and form as other, they are easily separated. So we are not reached the Pashyanti state where they are inseparable. You may not repeat the mantra, but you can visualize the form, or you may not visualize the form, but you can repeat the mantra. So these are the two scenarios. They are separate and you know it. But as you go on repeating, the mantra, concentration deepens. As you dive deep into your own mind, the name and the form sink into your consciousness, the heart center. If you can follow that union of name and form, you will then reach the third stage, which is known as Pashyanti. So Pashyanti is like a ordinary pulse seed, that red gram or any gram. If you took, there are two separate parts. But when they join together, they form one seed. So in that state of mantra repetition, the Pashyanti state, not the Madhyama or the Vaikhari. That is why people, though they prefer to repeat the name loudly, that's a very gross way of doing it. But why we insist on repeating it mentally? Because that way you'll reach the Pashyanti state earlier. The name and form always should be united. Though they are separate, they become united. Then you have a chance that you go back to your pure consciousness because you have come. And further, the fourth state is para. After that, I will stop today because it's almost 1 hour. And the fourth stage of, even when you go on doing this japa, I was talking about the milestones, what will happen. These are the things that will happen if you are really sincere. So if one goes deeper from the Pashyanti state, one finds that there is a last stage known as para. So in Vedanta also there is a para vidya and apara vidya. Apara vidya is what we do with physics, chemistry, mathematics, earning money. That is apara vidya. But Mundaka the Upanishad says, Dve vidya vedita, Dve vidya veditavyam. And you have to understand two vidyas, two paracha, aparacha. Apara also you need to survive in this world, but without para, it is incomplete. So if we go to the para, but this para is different. This is the para stage of the mantra, where when your mind becomes so concentrated, the repetition becomes so subtle. One finds that there is a last stage which is known as para. This is represented by Om. So all our mantras start with Om. It represents the power of Ishvara. The bija helps you, the bija which follows the Om helps you to open up that power to reach the para state. So if you just have to remember, you don't have to remember all the 4 stages. I'm just giving you an explanation, because when you do the japa, you don't have to understand, try to find out whether you are in the para or Pashyanti or the Madhyama or the Vaikhari. When you loudly say, you're not supposed to say Vaikhari, one step is removed, and you directly focus on the other 3 states of mantra japa. So when you implant that divine name, that with the mantra in the depths of our unconscious, where our samskaras are there, because there are a lot of unconscious samskaras by wrong use of words. You don't know how much misuse we have made of words. Not in this life. So many trivial things, so many useless things we have uttered. So there is a lot of dirt and dust in our subconscious. So it will take time for the mantra to purify it. So rhythmic chanting first cleans the attic. As you say, many things are not apparent now. Our attic is full of dirt and dust. But we conveniently close the door and think that our house is so nice. But someday or the other you have to open, otherwise rats will be there. Once you open the attic, then you find, oh, now who will clean this? So that is what mantra does. There are many things which apparently do not disturb us. They are not in our conscious mind. They are not in our house. House is clean, but the attic or unconscious, that has to be cleaned, and that can be done only by this rhythmic repetition of the mantra. And that is the only time or period when you reach that state, a new milestone starts, the Kundalini, which I described yesterday. The nerve currents, instead of passing through the Ida and Pingala, they pass through the Kundalini. That is what awakening of Kundalini means. This may be known as verbal pranayama. It is a pranayama. People try to awaken the Kundalini, but verbally, when you do it, that is why when you do mantra sadhana, normally in our tradition at least, we discourage we don't need pranayama. So the mind is the repetition of the mantra itself, this rhythmic repetition. Ordinary pranayama purifies the body. When you breathe, it purifies your lungs, it gives you good health, no doubt. That is the only thing it does. But mantra pranayama or verbal pranayama purifies the mind also. It not only purifies the mind, It quietens the samskaras which have not risen before even they come and disturb you. It cleans that. So this is how the japa works, and there are many other things which we have to discuss. Maybe in some other class, some other time, we will discuss that. So I'll take your leave. If there are any questions, you can ask a few minutes. Yeah, because I want to make sure that you have understood. So in the chat box, I'll wait for a few minutes. I want to make sure that you have understood what was discussed. I took some time because I don't want to rush through these things. When it is okay, then we will start the next topic. I thought I would be finishing in this, but then if I rush through all these things, it will not be clear. If there is any question, please type in the chat. I'll wait for 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah. Do you want to ask? Then I can enable the sound. If some people are not familiar with the chat, let me just see if I can. Yeah, now there are a few questions. Let me say, there is Giovanni from thank you for attending all the classes. I see you are very regular. So when we recite the question that he is asking is when, 1 minute, what is your question? Okay, when we recite the mantra, we must focus on the center of gravity. Yes, on the heart. Yes, that is according to the system that we follow. You see, I am talking of a tradition that we follow. It may not be the case. Don't think it is a universal, but most of the traditions which emphasize on that, they prefer the heart chakra. So one has to believe, or one has to focus on the center of gravity, which to initially it begins, because heart is the center where our buddhi is supposed to reside. You see all the scriptures in Hinduism, in Vedanta, heart is the seat. The spiritual heart is where the dhi. So when you want to awaken the buddhi, it happens in the heart. That is why, yes, you have to think, but even if you can't think, it would be a good idea. That's why I said you have to meditate the heart lotus first and imagine the Ishta sitting there, and then you meditate on that. That is one technique. Let me make one thing very clear, that this is one of the techniques. Now, if there are other traditions which teach you some other things, that's why I'm trying to tell you this is what we do. And could you, so yes, we have to recite the mantra, we have to focus on the center of gravity at the same time. It is better, because otherwise the mantra, if it is just hanging around here and there, the mind becomes, the restlessness of the mind doesn't go. It has to repeatedly be thought, as I told you, as a fountain rising from the heart, continuously coming in a very rhythmic way. Then only the Kundalini, someday it might open. The first thing it will do is purify the attic or clean all the old samskaras. That may take a very long time. So one should not be impatient, wait for the mantra to have its effect. Now, please, could you mention what the point 4 and 5 where, oh, we have not come to that. The 4 and 5, I'll just repeat what I said. The 4 and 5 points, which, yes, it is good that you want to recapitulate that. First is the goal that you have to attain through Diksha. First, the goal has to be sure that what is our journey, where are we supposed to go, where will the chariot end, where is the end of the journey. That is the goal to be attained. Second, the different stepping stones. Now, we were talking about the stepping stones. The first stage, second stage, how mantra slowly does so many things, the different stages, the methodology that also we discussed, and the rationale, why we do it the way we do it, the practice in mantra yoga. Fourth and fifth are, what are the obstacles and what are the means to overcome the obstacles. So these things I have not started, because first with the methodology itself is a very long thing. And the stepping stones, if we unless we understand that, then later on we'll come to the obstacles. There are hundreds of obstacles. Don't think it is, as in any field, to acquire knowledge in any field, there will be obstacles. But that doesn't mean that they cannot be overcome. So how to overcome that and what are the obstacles? It is there in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras also, but we will discuss the specific obstacles that you are likely to face. So I think it is clear. Now the next question is, how can one identify one center of gravity or spiritual art? It is very simple. I mean, you just try to feel there is a region in the solar plexus. I'm talking of the physical, though you should not think that it is something that you feel. Now I'll give you a simple example. Suppose somebody comes and breaks a news, very, very sad news, or a very happy news, something which you never expected. Then you feel a slight pain. If it is a bad news, you feel a slight pain or a slight or a wonderful elation in some part of the body. It is definitely not the head. You feel a sharp pain. Now try to identify where is that spot in your, that is the spiritual heart. It's not the physical heart. You don't feel the pain. You suddenly feel, or even when you say I, the hands doesn't go here or here. You don't say I pointing to the stomach. You point to one portion. That is known as Chit Jada Granthi, because the consciousness is attached to the Jada, the external world, at that point. So that is how you have to identify. It will come through practice. When you repeat, you will find the japa is simply coming from that point. In the beginning, you have to imagine, but later on, even if you have imagined a few inches up and down, it doesn't really matter. It's not the exact location that is important. That area, that rough area, which we call the solar plexus, is where the spiritual heart is. So a little, don't be so particular. I know you are a doctor, so you know physiology. So don't bother about a few inches up and down. When you yourself practice it, it has something which has to be felt. Your center of gravity, my center of gravity may be different. In the sense, it will be the same place, but that is where the nerve currents have a tendency to focus and branch out. That is what is known as Anahata Chakra. And normally, for better visualization, the drooping 8-petal lotus has to be imagined as it is flowering, and the drooping, it becomes live. And imagine the Ishta. Give him a chance to explain to you. We should not use too much of our mind. Ishta himself will guide us. The Ishta, the very idea of having the Ishta is he is the master of our chariot. Our buddhi, of course, has to be awakened, but without his grace, Gayatri, we play to the sun god, say that, oh, please awaken my heart. I don't know where it is, but you will definitely find the center of gravity. Okay. Yes, I will. Somebody wants some more details. We'll definitely discuss. Can we have two Ishtas? No, you can't, because then it is not an Ishta. If you have two Ishtas, then your mind will be diverted. It is like Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a person started digging wells. And he first dug, he went 10 feet. He was disgusted. He said, no, I'm not getting water. So somebody comes and distracts him. That is what happens when you have many Ishtas. Hundreds of Ishtas people have, and they end up doing nothing. So then what happened? The very idea of Ishta is to fix your sadhana and focus on one point. Now then what happened in the gospel? It's a famous story. Another person tells him, there is no water here, you go there. Then he goes there and he digs another 10 feet. Then somebody else comes and distracts him, says, no, water, you won't get it. Go a little ahead. There is a beautiful, nice source there. Then a wise man comes, who is your guru. If he is a wise person, he will come and tell you, you see, if you are stuck to your first place and went on digging in one place, you would have by now dug 40 meters. You have dug 10 meters in each place and you didn't get water, but if you are stuck to one place, that's the precise reason why we have to fix our Ishta. In the beginning, we may not do because we are superficial in our approach to spiritual life. But once you fix, then it does not make any sense, practical sense, to change your Ishta. So you can't have two Ishtas. Then your time required to reach the goal will be double. And if you have three Ishtas, or perhaps you may not reach at all, as that fellow could never get water. Because if he digs 100 places, if the water table is below 40, then he won't get water at all. That's the idea. Yeah. If we have difficulty in visualization, should we still make an effort to visualize, or is it better to just focus on the mantra? Since you said eventually the visualization, yes. It is better to, in the beginning, you have to better to focus on one, but don't leave out that option. If you can't visualize now, you will be able to visualize it. Don't give up. It has to be done together. But if it cannot be done for some reason, doing one will lead to the other. If that also doesn't happen, then do one, whatever you can, but don't give up. That is the main point here. It is like the bija helps you to join the cotyledons, the two cotyledons, nama and rupa. These are subtle things, but unless you repeat the mantra in a very determined and a subtle way, these things will not be clear. So in the beginning, don't worry, just start. Whether you visualize or whether you repeat the name, do one, but try to bring in the visualization as much as possible. And finally, hold on to the visualization. That's why sometimes you have to just visualize. If you find that you are finding it difficult, then it's all the more necessary for you to focus on that. You focus on that in which you are weak. When you are trying to become a good wrestler, there are certain areas where you are weak. So you focus on that. So if you are bad in visual, just don't give up because of that reason. Try to visualize. Whenever you are in a good mood, try to visualize. If for some reason you are not able to do it, then repeat the mantra. And then when you are in an excellent mood, in a very nice mood, then try to combine both. Then if one finds difficult to chant 100% mentally at first, then what can be done? Why 100%? All the mantras are repeated mentally. You may not feel that it is coming from the heart, but definitely you are not supposed to repeat the mantra loudly. Definitely, because we begin with that. The only time you repeat the mantra loudly is during initiation, once. After that, why do you need it? There are so many things we remember, mathematical formulas. You don't go to the exam hall and go on shouting all the formulas. If we can do that, why can't we remember such a small thing? You see, one has to be practical. When we appear for an exam, written exam, you're not supposed to chant everything that you write. Some children may do it, but when you grow up, you are expected to repeat mentally. So don't worry, if maybe 100% you may not be able to do, 60%, 70%, whatever you do, but the mantra has to be repeated fully. There's no question of 20% or I can just repeat Om mentally, I can't repeat the other part of the mantra. That is not an excuse. It has to be repeated fully. And that is what you have to do. Okay, so we will continue in the next class. There may be, how long can we go on with the repetitions? Oh, that depends. That depends. You have to ask your guru from whom you take mantra diksha, how long you should be repeating. Depends on the candidate or depends on the aspirant and his capacity to do the same. So don't bother too much about the number. One thing they advise, everybody advises, that if it is causing a strain for some reason, then it's better to stop. Because nothing should be forced. It has to come in a very spontaneous way, as a fountain. If there is some blockage and the water is not able to flow, then it is better to find out the reason for clogging of that. So you have to rectify that. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Oh, somebody is asking, will you not be giving the mantra? No, no, no. This is just a understanding. Mantra Diksha cannot be done online. Yeah. So don't worry, if the right time comes, you will get. And don't be in a hurry. You see, the problem with most people is they are in a hurry to get the mantra Diksha. And after many years, they come and perhaps they don't remember the mantra, or even if they remember, they don't know what is to be done. And then they say, now what should we do? Then I said, what were you doing all these years? So it's better to be slow, understand the significance, understand the methodology, the rationale. As I said, 5 steps. First, the goal to be attained through Diksha, the different stepping stones, the immediate, intermediate or proximate goals, the methodology, third, methodology and the rationale. Try to understand as much as possible the practice in mantra yoga. Then obstacles, we have to know that also, because our journey will not be smooth. And fifth, the means to overcome all these obstacles. If we go through all these 5, which I'm trying to do it, that's why many people want it, because I cannot explain each one separately. That's why I thought, let us have these sessions. So things can be difficult unless you understand. It's better not to rush into all these things. So next session, I'll definitely not tomorrow. Tomorrow we are a bit busy. I will let you know. Maybe we can have a session on Saturday. Sunday we cannot have. Sunday we have a very important celebration, online celebration, spiritual retreat, where 2 Swamis will be speaking. They are also very good speakers. They will explain how Sri Ramakrishna's message, life and message, can be applied to householder devotees, and how can they find fulfillment by following his advice or his message. So please try to attend all the talks on, which begin little early because they are speaking from India. So we had to hold it at 2:30 or 3. So all of you, the links are slightly wrong. The link that I gave on WhatsApp are wrong. So I'll send the links again, the final links with the final program for Sunday. So if we are lucky, if I'm free, I'll have a session on Saturday, but we will have it. I'll try to complete what I started and try to finish it. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Oh, so Rashmi Raj says that she doesn't have a group. Okay, you can send your WhatsApp number so that I can put you in the group. You have, I think you have sent me a mail. You have so in that mail you please send your WhatsApp number. So because I can't mail everybody, it's easier for me to give all the updates on WhatsApp. So please send your WhatsApp, because I think you have our email ID. You can send your WhatsApp number if you are using WhatsApp. So Sandeep has sent a number. Can you please send it, because this chat I'll close. I don't know how to retrieve it. Please send it on your email. You had, if I remember, you had sent an email to me. Please send your WhatsApp number on email as well. Okay.